Let me tell you about war. New kind of war. War without tanks, without missiles, without invasion. December 29th, 2025. Taiwan's contiguous zone, waters around island. China sends 11 naval vessels, 8 Coast Guard ships, 130 aircraft, 27 missiles. This is first time Chinese military and Coast Guard vessels enter this zone in significant numbers. First time crossing this boundary. Taiwan response. 1 destroyer. Applies radar lock. This is serious escalation. Radar lock means we can fire. We are ready to fire. Signals imminent capability. Chinese destroyer Urumqi withdraws. After radar lock, crisis de-escalates for now. But here is crucial question. What just happened? Was this military operation? Was this law enforcement? Was this war? China says law enforcement. Coast Guard operation, routine patrol. Taiwan says military incursion, sovereignty violation, act of aggression. Both are right, both are wrong. This is new form of conflict. This is what I want to talk about. Not traditional war, not peace. Something between, something that is both and neither. Something called gray zone. Let me show you what this means. How this works. Why this is most dangerous form of conflict. Because it is conflict that denies being conflict. First, the 3-layer system. How China structures maritime coercion. Layer 1, maritime militia, civilian vessels, fishing boats, merchant ships, 3 no vessels, no name, no certificate, no registration. These operate first, move into disputed waters, but establish presence, but appear civilian, appear innocent. If challenged, if confronted, if stopped, they say, we are fishermen, we are civilians, we have right to fish, to navigate, to exist. But tracking data shows these vessels do not fish, do not follow fishing patterns, operate in military exercise zones, change identification, switch identities, disappear from tracking, then reappear. CSIS study tracked 1 vessel, found 11 different identities, multiple names, no port of origin, operating in military drill zones, not fishing zones. This is not fishing, this is occupation, under civilian disguise. Layer 2, Coast Guard, white hull vessels, official government ships, but for law enforcement, not military action. China Coast Guard was reorganized 2018, moved under Central Military Commission, under military control, same chain of command as People's Liberation Army. CCG vessels are built on PLA Navy frigate hulls, equipped with 76 mm guns, military communication suites, essentially warships, but painted white, called Coast Guard, operating as law enforcement. This is genius operation. This is perfect ambiguity, military capabilities, civilian designation, war power, peace label. When CCG vessels patrol Taiwan waters, what are they doing? Law enforcement, military operation, both, neither. International law treats Coast Guard differently from military. White hull versus gray hull, different rules, different responses, different legitimacy. But if white hull is gray hull in disguise, if law enforcement is military action with different paint, if civilian is military with different label, then distinctions collapse. Rules become meaningless. Categories dissolve. Layer 3, PLA Navy and Air Force. Traditional military, gray hull. Warships, fighter jets, destroyers, submarines. These stay in background, provide backup, show force, but do not engage first. Do not initiate contact, wait for escalation. Then appear in Justice Mission 2025 exercise. While Coast Guard entering contiguous zone, PLA Navy nearby, while fishing vessels operating PLA Air Force overhead, while civilian ships present military submarines beneath, 3 layers, each with different legal status, each with different rules, each with different legitimacy, but all coordinated, all connected, all serving same function. This is not 3 separate operations. This is single operation with 3 phases. Single strategy with 3 masks. Single war with 3 denials. Second, what happened December 29th, 30, Justice Mission 2025. This was largest exercise yet, covering wider area than any previous, rehearsing full maritime blockade, establishing air and sea control, targeting key ports, deterring external forces, but also entering Taiwan's contiguous zone. First time, 11 military vessels, 8 Coast Guard ships, crossing boundary that was respected for. Taiwan Ministry of Defense reports, 1 destroyer applied radar lock, Chinese vessel withdrew, but 27 missiles were fired in or around contiguous zone. Impact locations undisclosed. Notice what this means. Notice what this establishes. Precedent, new normal, new baseline. Before December 29th, contiguous zone was respected, was boundary, was line. After December 29, contiguous zone is crossed, is contested, is normalized. This is not conquest. Taiwan still controls island, still governs territory, still maintains sovereignty, but control is eroding. Authority is weakening. Jurisdiction is dissolving. Not through invasion, not through occupation, through presence, through repetition, through gradual normalization. Third, Kinmen Islands, Taiwan-controlled islands, very close to Chinese mainland. December 2025, 4 Coast Guard patrols into Kinmen waters. December 11th, 1822-25, 1 entered prohibited waters for first time in over a year. Notice pattern, notice December 11th, standard patrol, 4 ships, round timing, predictable. December 18th, irregular timing, 4:17 p.m., not round number. December 22nd, same. December 25th, only 3 ships instead of 4. Why variation? Why change pattern? To test the Taiwan response, to improve operational surprise, to practice different island quarantine maneuvers. Also, location of patrols south of Kinmen is where ships would need to be positioned to cut island from Taiwan, to blockade, to isolate. This is not random. This is preparation. This is rehearsal for actual blockade, for real isolation, for future operation, but framed as law enforcement, as routine patrol, as normal activity, not military threat, just presence. Fourth, legal warfare, how language creates reality. February 2024, incident near Kinmen, Chinese vessel capsizes, crew refuses to cooperate with Taiwan authorities, Taiwan Coast Guard involved. China's response frames as vicious incident, says Taiwan treated mainland fishermen in violent and dangerous manner, calls vessel fishing boat. But vessel was Trino vessels, no name, no certificate, no registration, was illegal, was operating in restricted waters, was refusing compliance. China omits this, calls it fishing boat. Creates narrative of innocent fishermen attacked by aggressive Taiwan authorities. Then uses narrative to justify Coast Guard patrols. Says we must protect our fishermen, must ensure their safety, must enforce law. So illegal incursion becomes justification for official patrols. Violation becomes excuse for enforcement. crime becomes reason for presence. This is legal warfare. Using language to create legitimacy, using terminology to establish jurisdiction, using framing to justify action. Fishing boat, not illegal vessel. Protection, not incursion. Law enforcement, not military operation. Routine patrol, not sovereignty violation. Every term is chosen. Every word is strategic. Every phrase establishes narrative that serves Chinese claims, that undermines Taiwan authority, that normalizes Chinese presence. Fifth, cognitive warfare, the 19,000 messages, December 29th to January 2nd. During Justice Mission exercise, China launched information operations, 19,000 controversial messages, 799 abnormal accounts. Content, amplifying skepticism about United States, about Taiwan military, about President Lai, questioning Taiwan's ability to defend itself, creating doubt, creating fear. Also cyber attacks, 2.0, 8 million attacks, first day, 2.0, 9 million second day, targeting government networks, creating disruption. This is not separate from maritime operations. It's coordinated. It's synchronized military exercises creating kinetic pressure, information operations creating psychological pressure, cyber operations creating technical disruption. All happening simultaneously, all reinforcing each other, all serving same goal, to undermine Taiwan's confidence, to weaken resolve, to create sense of inevitability. And message is, you cannot defend, you are alone. United States will not help. Resistance is futile. Submission is inevitable. This is cognitive warfare, not attacking body, attacking mind, not destroying infrastructure, destroying will, not conquering territory, conquering belief. Sixth, why this is more dangerous than traditional war. Traditional war is clear, is recognizable, is defined. Enemy attacks, you defend. Boundaries are clear. Friend or foe is obvious. But gray zone is ambiguous, is unclear, is undefined. Is this attack or not? Is this war or peace? Is this threat or routine? When Chinese Coast Guard patrol Taiwan waters, how should Taiwan respond? Treat as military threat, but vessels are marked law enforcement. Treat as civilian activity, but vessels are military, controlled. Treat as routine patrol, but patrol is establishing precedent. Every response creates problem. Treat as military equals sign escalation. Treat as civilian equals sign acceptance. Treat as routine equals sign normalization. This is genius of gray zone creates dilemma, where every option has cost, where every choice creates vulnerability, where every response is wrong. If Taiwan responds militarily to Coast Guard vessels, China says you are aggressive, you attack law enforcement, you are provocateur. If Taiwan does not respond, China says you accept our presence, you recognize our jurisdiction, you acknowledge our authority. Either way, China wins. Either escalation that serves narrative or acceptance that establishes control. Seventh, the normalization strategy. This is not about single operation, it's about cumulative effect, about gradual change, about slow transformation. First patrol, violation, incident, reported, condemned. Second patrol, concerning, noted, monitored. Third patrol, pattern, tracked, analyzed. Fourth patrol, normal, expected, routine. This is how control shifts. This is how sovereignty erodes. Not through dramatic conquest, through repetition, through presence, through making extraordinary become ordinary. before 2024, Chinese Coast Guard did not patrol Kinmen waters, was absent. 2024, first patrols, incidents, violations. 2025, 46 confirmed incursions at Kinmen, 32 at Pratas. Regular pattern. By 2026, these are no longer violations, are routine patrols, are normal presence, are established, and this establishment creates foundation for next step, for next escalation, for next normalization. Today, Coast Guard patrols waters around outer islands. Tomorrow, Coast Guard patrols around main island. Next, Coast Guard patrols become military presence. Eventually, military presence becomes control. Each step is small. Each move is gradual. Each change is incremental. But cumulative effect is revolutionary, is transformation of status quo, is shift in control without invasion, without war, without conquest, just presence, just repetition, just aid ambiguity as weapon. Traditional military strategy seeks clarity, clear objectives, defined enemies, recognizable threats. But China's gray zone strategy embraces ambiguity, makes ambiguity central, uses ambiguity as advantage. Pifau and Datier is today, is this fishing boat or military vessel? Both, neither, depends on context, depends on who asks, depends on when challenged. Is this law enforcement or military operation? Both, neither, depends on response, depends on escalation, depends on need. Is this routine patrol or sovereignty violation? Both, neither, depends on perspective, depends on recognition, depends on legitimacy. Ambiguity prevents response because you cannot respond to what you cannot counter what you cannot categorize, cannot resist what you cannot recognize. And ambiguity allows escalation because line is unclear, because threshold is undefined, because line is moving. Where is red line? When does patrol become invasion? When does presence become control? When does law enforcement become war? This no one knows. Line keeps moving. Threshold keeps rising. Limit keeps expanding. And each expansion makes next expansion easier, makes next move less shocking, makes next step more acceptable. This is strategy of ambiguity, where unclear boundaries allow continuous advancement, where undefined limits permit endless testing, where flexible categories enable perpetual escalation. Ninth, what Taiwan cannot do. Taiwan faces impossible choice, impossible position, impossible dilemma. Option 1, respond militarily to gray zone operations. Treat Coast Guard as military threat. Use force against law enforcement vessels. Result, China frames Taiwan as aggressor, says Taiwan attacks civilian vessels, says Taiwan violates international norms, uses response to justify escalation, to mobilize domestic support, to legitimize intervention. Option 2, do not respond militarily, treat as law enforcement issue, use Coast Guard against Coast Guard, match presence with presence. Result, China expands operations, increases frequency, enhances capabilities, establishes precedents, normalizes presence, erodes control without resistance, without consequence. Option 3, appeal to international law, to international community, to rules-based order. Result, China ignores, says this is bilateral issue, says this is domestic matter, says this is reunification, not invasion. And international community does not act, does not intervene, does not enforce. Every option fails, every choice loses, Every response creates vulnerability. This is perfection of gray zone, creating situation where defender cannot win, where only options are escalate and be blamed, or submit and lose. 10th, the radar lock moment. December 30, Chinese destroyer Urumqi in Taiwan's contiguous zone. Taiwan naval vessel applies radar lock. This is serious. This is escalatory. Radar lock means I have targeted you, I can fire on you, I am ready to engage. Urumqi withdraws, crisis de-escalates. But what does this reveal? What does this mean? Taiwan can still force Chinese vessels to withdraw, can still establish limits, can still defend boundaries, but only through threat of lethal force, only through risking war, only through accepting possibility of escalation. This cannot be sustained, cannot be repeated for every incursion, cannot be routine response to routine patrols, because radar lock is not routine, is crisis, is threshold. But if Taiwan does not apply radar lock, do not respect boundaries, do not leave, so Taiwan must choose risk war with every incursion, or accept presence without war, escalate constantly, or submit gradually. And China knows this, is counting on this, is exploiting this, forcing Taiwan to choose between impossible options, between crisis and submission, between war, surrender. This is why gray zone is perfect trap, because it forces defender to either accept gradual erosion of control or risk escalation to actual war, either lose slowly or risk losing quickly. And most defenders choose first option, choose gradual loss, choose slow erosion, because alternative seems worse, because escalation seems more dangerous, because war seems unacceptable. But gradual loss leads to same place, just slower, just less visible, just more, until one day you realize control is gone, sovereignty is eroded, territory is lost, without war, without invasion, without. Welcome to war that is not war, to conquest that is not conquest, to invasion that is law enforcement. China sends 11 military vessels into Taiwan waters, calls it routine patrol, frames as law enforcement, denies military nature. Taiwan applies radar lock, forces withdrawal, maintains boundary, but cannot repeat this for every incursion, cannot sustain crisis response to routine operations. So next time Chinese vessels return without withdrawal, because Taiwan cannot apply radar lock cannot risk war every day, cannot escalate continuously, and presence becomes normal, patrols become routine, incursions become accepted, without war, without conquest, just time, just repetition, just presence. This is how sovereignty ends. This is how control shifts. This is how territory changes hands, not through dramatic invasion, through quiet erosion, through gradual normalization, through gray zone. White hulls that are gray hulls, law enforcement that is military operation, fishing boats that are militia vessels, routine patrols that are invasion rehearsals. Everything is both and neither. Everything has double nature. Everything serves dual function. And this duality creates confusion, creates ambiguity, creates advantage. Foresight that masters ambiguity. For power that embraces grayness. For strategy that denies clarity. Welcome to new form of war, where winner is side that best disguises attack as routine, that best frames invasion as presence, that best presents conquest as normalization. And Taiwan watches as vessels patrol waters, as aircraft cross zones, as missiles impact areas, and must choose, respond and risk war, or accept and lose, escalate or submit, fight or... But these are not really choices, because both lead to same place, because escalation cannot be sustained, because submission is gradual, because time favors China. This is genius of gray zone. Not about winning battle, about avoiding battle while achieving battle's result. Not about conquest, about control without conquest. Not about invasion, about presence that becomes permanence. The war that is not war, the invasion that is patrol, the conquest that is normalization. And the defeat that comes not through losing war, but through accepting that there is no war. Just routine, just presence, just new normal,